I can still smell it. Fresh blood mixed with candle smoke and cheap incense. It was midnight when I handed the black package to the Sangoma in the abandoned house in Rustenburg. He opened it slowly, smelled each used pad I had gathered that week, and smiled, showing his gold teeth. "This one," he said in Zulu, holding a stained pad against the candlelight, "belongs to a young woman, a spiritual virgin, perfect for a destruction ritual." He placed the pad in the center of a circle drawn with chicken blood on the floor, lit red candles around it, and began chanting words that made every hair on my body stand up. That's when I saw it. A thick, black smoke started rising from the pad, and inside that smoke a woman's face formed, wide eyes, open mouth in a silent scream, hands reaching out as if begging for help. In that moment, while the Sangoma laughed and the others applauded, I understood the horrifying truth. I wasn't just collecting trash. I was delivering pieces of innocent women's souls to be destroyed in rituals of revenge, jealousy, and greed. They paid me 800 rands that night, 800 rands for 6 used pads and a few tissues stained with menstrual blood. I was only 16, an orphan, desperate, sleeping on the streets. That money looked like salvation, but every banknote I touched was cursed, because dark money never comes alone. It brings nightmares, hauntings, sickness, and death. Today, at 34, free from that network but still carrying deep spiritual scars, I'm here to expose everything, every secret, every method, every hidden danger in what you throw away without thinking. Especially you, women. What you discard can be used to destroy your life, your marriage, your fertility, and your destiny. I know that because I was the collector. I was the hand delivering those weapons to the sorcerers. Before we continue with this full testimony, write in the comments right now where you're watching from. City, country, continent. I want to know how far this warning is reaching, because this truth must cross borders. It's not only about South Africa. These practices exist in many places, and the more people know, the more lives will be protected. So comment now. Where are you watching from? Family, this is Real Confessions. The testimony you just heard came to us from a broken man carrying a heavy burden in his heart. And before we continue, I need to ask something essential. Do not judge this man. Do not attack him. Do not condemn him. He is not here seeking applause or excuses for what he did. He is here because the guilt became unbearable, and because he wants others, especially desperate young people, not to fall into the same trap. People often commit terrible mistakes when hunger presses, when loneliness chokes, when there is no helping hand extended. This man had the courage to come forward, knowing his story would shock, knowing he would face criticism, but he spoke anyway. Why? Because right now women are suffering, losing jobs, losing health, losing fertility, losing marriages, and they have no idea the cause might be that pad they threw in a public bin. Young people are being recruited at this very moment by occult networks without understanding what they are stepping into. His identity is protected. We are using a fictional name, and we ask you to receive this story with an open heart, to learn, not to judge, because all of us at some point need mercy. And this confession is not just about one man, it is about a system, a network, a spiritual danger operating in the shadows of our cities. Stay until the end. Every word matters. Every detail may save someone you love. The Bible warns us in Ephesians 5:11, have nothing to do with the fruitless works of darkness, but instead expose them. And that is exactly what we are doing today. We are tearing away the veil of darkness. We are exposing what moves in the shadows, while people live normal lives unaware of the invisible dangers around them. Our African ancestors always knew a deep truth. Everything that comes from your body carries your spiritual essence, your blood, your hair, your nails, your tears, your sweat, and yes, your menstrual fluids. In the spiritual realm, there is no such thing as worthless trash. Everything has power. Everything can be used, for good or for evil. That is why our grandmothers taught us to burn fallen hair, to bury clipped nails, to be careful with who touches our undergarments. But in the modern world, we've forgotten these protections. We throw used pads in public bins. We discard blood-stained tissues without a second thought. We hang underwear outside where anyone can grab it. And while we live carefree, there are people, unscrupulous sangomas, dark sorcerers, occult networks, collecting these things and using them in devastating rituals. Rituals to break marriages, rituals to steal fertility, Rituals to cause unexplained illnesses. Rituals to destroy destinies. What you are about to hear is not fiction, not superstition. It is spiritual reality exposed by someone who lived inside it. And my prayer is that your ears are open and your heart attentive. Because knowledge is protection, ignorance is an open door to the enemy. You can call me Daniel. It's not my real name, but it works. I'm 34 and live in a small town near Pretoria. I work as a night security guard in a commercial building. My life is simple, almost invisible. I wake up, go to work, return home, read my Bible, pray for my sins, and try to sleep without nightmares, not always successfully. People who see me today have no idea. I'm just another quiet, polite black man who greets respectfully and never causes trouble. No one knows that these hands, which now hold only a flashlight and a security radio, once held much darker things. No one knows that these eyes, which now watch empty halls at night, have witnessed rituals that would keep most people awake for weeks. I look normal, but inside I carry scars no one sees. I fight every day against memories that haunt me. I fight against the guilt that sits on my chest like a stone. I fight to believe that God can forgive me for what I did, because for 3 years of my life, from age 16 to 19, I was part of a network that destroyed the lives of innocent women. And it all began with hunger, loneliness, and desperation. I was 12 when my world collapsed. I lost my father first. He fell ill with a sickness no one could explain, wasting away in bed until he was just skin and bone. 3 months after burying him, my mother followed. The neighbors said it was a broken heart. I think she simply gave up living without him. After the funerals, the battle began. Aunts and uncles arguing about who would take me, but no one really wanted me. I was just a burden, another mouth to feed. "This boy brings bad luck," I heard my aunt say. "An orphan carries heavy spirits." In the end, they sent me to my mother's uncle, a bitter man who drank every night and took out his frustrations on me. I became an unpaid servant. I woke up at 4 in the morning to fetch water from the community pump. I cleaned the whole house before school. I cooked. I washed clothes by hand until my fingers were wrinkled and sore. And at night, I went to sleep hungry because food was never enough and I was always the last, if anything was left at all. The pain of loneliness was worse than hunger. I cried every night, clinging to the thin blanket I had, wishing my parents would come back. No one hugged me. No one asked if I was okay. No one saw me as a child, only as a problem. Over time, that pain turned into anger. Anger at the world that abandoned me. Anger at God for taking my parents. Anger at the life I had been given. When I turned 15, I couldn't take it anymore. One Saturday morning, after being beaten for spilling water while cleaning, I just walked out. I grabbed my only change of clothes, slipped on my only pair of torn shoes, and left. I preferred the streets to being treated worse than a dog. It was the worst decision of my life, because on the streets, you don't just find freedom, you find predators, and I was about to meet the worst kind. I was picking plastic bottles near a shopping mall in Rustenburg when I saw him for the first time. His name was Thabo, but everyone on the street called him TB Money. He was about 35, wore brand-name clothes, thick gold chains around his neck, and drove a black BMW shining under the sun. He stopped the car beside me while I was digging through a trash bin. "Hey, boy," he called, lighting an expensive cigarette. "You're wasting your time with bottles. That won't even buy you bread." I ignored him at first. On the streets you learn that when a rich man offers something, there's always a hidden price. But he insisted. "Look at me, kid. I know your story. I know you sleep under the bridge. I know you're starving. And I've got a job for you, a real job, that pays real money." I stopped and looked at him. "What kind of job?" He smirked and flicked the cigarette out the window. "Collection work. Simple. Discreet. And I'll pay you more in one night than you make in a month picking trash." He pulled out a 100 Rand note and handed it to me. "Here, buy food. And when the hunger hits again, call me." He gave me a paper with a phone number and drove off, leaving me standing there holding more money than I had seen in months. For a week I wrestled with myself. My instincts screamed something was wrong, but hunger screamed louder. After 3 days without eating anything except tap water, I called. Thabo answered on the second ring as if he had been waiting. "Knew you'd call," he said, laughing. "Meet me tonight, 9 o'clock, Shell fuel station on Old Pretoria Road, and bring a backpack." When night came, I was there, heart pounding, palms sweating. Thabo arrived in the BMW, let me in, and drove in silence for 30 minutes until we reached an abandoned industrial area. There was a small house with windows covered by black cloth and a strange smell in the air, incense mixed with something heavier, darker. Inside were 4 men. 3 were South African like Thabo. 1 was older, maybe 60, dressed in animal skins and bone necklaces, clearly a Sangoma. He looked me up and down with eyes that seemed to see through me, then nodded. "This one will do," he said in Zulu. "He still has innocence. The spirits won't reject him yet." I didn't understand any of it. But I was about to learn I had just signed my spiritual death sentence. Thabo pulled me aside and explained the job. I had to collect specific items people threw away, used sanitary pads, tissues with blood or bodily fluids, old underwear, especially panties, used toilet paper, hair from salons, even bloodied bandages. Anything that had direct contact with someone's body, he said, especially blood, sweat, saliva. The fresher, the better. I stared at him, confused and nauseated. "Why do you want these things?" He laughed, lighting another cigarette. "Don't ask questions, kid, just collect and bring them. We pay 300 rands per used pad, 200 for stained panties, 150 for tissues with blood, and if you get items from young women, under 30, we pay double. 300 rands for a pad?" My mind couldn't process it. I barely earned 50 rands in a whole week of scavenging. The older Sangoma approached and handed me thick rubber gloves, black plastic bags, and a small backpack. "You will go to middle-class neighborhoods," he instructed in a low, raspy voice. "Check the bins on trash collection nights. Women throw these things away carelessly. Go to public restrooms in malls. There are always full bins. And be careful. Never, ever get caught. If anyone asks, you say you're looking for recyclable bottles. If the police catch you, you know no one. Understand?" That very night, I started. I went to a residential area and opened my first bin. The smell was horrible, rotting food and dirty diapers. Then I saw it, a used sanitary pad, wrapped in toilet paper but leaking through. My stomach turned. I put on the gloves, picked it up in disgust, sealed it in the bag, and placed it in the backpack. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I'd faint, but I thought about the 300 rands, and I kept going. That first night I collected 5 used pads, 3 old stained panties, and several bloodied tissues. When I delivered everything the next day, the Sangoma examined each item with disturbing care, smelling, touching, even licking one of the pads. I almost vomited. He murmured words in a language I didn't recognize, threw bones on the floor, then smiled with broken teeth. "3 of these women are young and fertile. Excellent. These will make powerful rituals." He handed me 2,000 rands in cash. 2,000. I had never seen that much money in my life. That night I bought real food. Roasted chicken, fresh bread, soda. I bought second-hand clothes. I paid to sleep in a cheap lodge with a real bed, clean blanket, and even hot water. For the first time in years, I felt powerful, in control, like I had finally found a way to survive. But I didn't know I was selling my soul. And worse, I was delivering weapons used to destroy the lives of innocent women who had no idea what was happening. In the first weeks, I tried not to think about what happened to the items I collected. I just wanted the money. But one day, curiosity won. After delivering a large batch of pads, I asked Thabo, "What do you do with these things?" He looked at me, deciding whether to answer, then said, "You really want to know because once you know, there's no going back." I nodded, even though something inside me screamed not to ask. He took me to a back room I had never seen. When he opened the door, my blood ran cold. The room was filled with candles, red, black, white, forming circles on the floor. In the center was a table covered with a red cloth stained with dried blood. On top were the pads I had brought, now arranged in circular patterns. Around them were photos, dozens of photos of women. Some looked like profile pictures from social media. Others looked like they were taken secretly on the street. The older Sangoma was there along with another man I didn't know, a man with strange yellowish eyes and ritual scars cut into his face. They were chanting in an ancestral language, shaking animal skins, throwing bones on the floor. The air was heavy, suffocating, and I felt something, a presence, as if there were more people in that room than just the 4 of us. Something invisible, something watching. "They're doing a destruction ritual," Thabo explained in a low voice. "Those things you collect, pads, tissues, panties, they carry the spiritual essence of the women. Menstrual blood is especially powerful because it carries the force of fertility, of creating life. When we do rituals with these items, we connect to the women's spirit, and we can do whatever we want with their lives." I looked at him, horrified. "What do you mean, whatever you want?" Thabo lit a cigarette. watching the ceremony. Men pay a lot of money for these rituals. A guy who wants revenge on an ex who left him, a businessman who wants to destroy a female competitor, a pastor who wants to steal members from a church led by a woman. Even jealous women pay to destroy rivals. They bring photos of the victim, pay between 15,000 and 50,000 rands depending on the ritual, and our sangomas do the work. Rituals to cause unexplained sickness, to destroy marriages, to block fertility so the woman never conceives, to cause accidents, to push someone into madness. My stomach turned. And the women? The women who use those pads, and do they know? Thabo let out a bitter laugh. Of course not. They threw them in the trash without a second thought, and now their energy is being used against them, or against other women. It's perfect, isn't it? People are so careless, they don't understand that in the spiritual world everything has value, and we profit from that ignorance. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces of those women in the photos. Women who had no idea that parts of their lives were lying on a ritual table, being used for their destruction. And I was an accomplice. I was the hand delivering the weapons. The weight of guilt began to grow, but the damn money was too good, so I kept going. God forgive me, I kept going. I worked for the network for almost 3 years. In that time, I made more money than I had ever dreamed of. I rented my own room. I bought a phone, clothes. I never went hungry again. For someone who had slept on the streets, I felt like a king, but peace never came. The money never brought joy. It only brought emptiness. The nightmares started at the end of the first year. Always the same. Women screaming, surrounding me, pointing accusing fingers. You betrayed us, they said. You handed our lives over to demons. I woke up in a cold sweat, yelling, heart racing. During the day, I started seeing things. Shadows moving in the corners of my eyes. Figures in the reflection of mirrors. Sometimes, alone in my room, I heard whispers, female voices, soft but threatening, calling my name. Thabo noticed the change in me. You're being attacked, he said. It happens with some collectors. The energies you handle sometimes stick to you. He took me to the older Sangoma, who did a cleansing. He gave me amulets to wear around my neck. Made me drink bitter potions that left me vomiting for hours. But nothing worked. The nightmares, the visions, the voices, they all continued, and got worse. Then came the incident that almost killed me. I was collecting in a new neighborhood when I found a trash can full of pads, a house where clearly several women lived. I took them all, happy with the big harvest. But when I delivered them, the older Sangoma was furious. "Idiot!" he shouted, throwing the pads away. "You took them from a protected house. Look, there are protection symbols drawn on them." And there really were, small symbols drawn with pen on the pads. The Sangoma explained that some good Sangomas, or women who know spiritual protections, purposely booby-trap their pads to curse anyone who tries to use them for evil, and I had walked right into the trap. That same night, I collapsed with violent convulsions. When I woke up 3 days later in the hospital, the doctors said it was an epileptic seizure of unknown cause, but I knew the truth. I had been attacked spiritually, and that was only the beginning of my fall. After the attack, my physical and mental health collapsed. I lost weight quickly, 15 kilos in 2 months. My hair started falling out in clumps. I developed sores on my skin that wouldn't heal, always infected. And worse, I developed a paralyzing fear of women. Any woman. Whenever I saw one on the street, my heart raced, my hands shook uncontrollably, cold sweat ran down my back. It was as if every woman was one of the ritual victims coming back for revenge. The nightmares intensified. They were no longer just voices and faces. They were physical attacks. I woke up with deep scratches on my chest and back, bite marks on my arms. Once I woke up with the horrible feeling that someone was sitting on my chest, suffocating me. I opened my eyes and saw, or thought I saw, a woman with completely black eyes, mouth open showing rotten teeth, sitting on top of me, smiling. When I screamed, she vanished, but the marks of her fingers on my neck stayed for days. Thabo told me to stop collecting for a while until I recovered, but stopping didn't help. The hauntings continued. I started hearing knocks on my bedroom walls at night, 3 knocks, always in a row, as if someone were asking to come in. I saw the shadows of women passing by my window, even though I lived on the 3rd floor. My neighbors started complaining that I screamed in my sleep, speaking in languages they didn't recognize. That's when I met Bongani, one of the oldest collectors in the network. He was in his early 40s but looked about 70, Skin and bones, sunken eyes, hands constantly shaking. One day he pulled me aside and said, "You need to get out, kid, before it's too late." I asked him why. He lifted his shirt and showed me his body, covered in scars, burns, ritual marks. "This," he said, "is what happens when you stay too long. The spirits start to consume you. They want blood, and if you don't leave, they'll take you." 3 weeks later, Bongani was dead. They found his body in the river, but the forensic doctors said there was no water in his lungs, meaning he was dead before he went into the water. The network said it was an accident, but all the collectors knew the truth. He had talked too much. He had tried to warn others, and he was silenced. In that moment I knew either I found a way out or my next stop would be the morgue. The final straw came unexpectedly. I was at home one night when I heard noise at the door. I opened it and there was a woman. Not a haunting this time, but a real woman. She was about 35, eyes red from crying, holding a photo. "It's you," she said, her voice shaking with rage and pain. "You're one of the collectors, aren't you?" My blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." She shoved the photo in my face. It was her, younger, smiling, the same photo I had seen in that ritual room months before. "I found your address through someone who knows the network. You collected my pads from a public trash bin, and they used them to do a ritual against me. Look what happened." She lifted her shirt. Her body was covered in sores, tumors, something that looked like advanced skin cancer. "The doctors don't know what it is. It appeared out of nowhere 6 months ago, and I know why. Because my ex-husband paid to destroy me, and you gave him the weapons." I didn't know what to say. She started crying, a pain so deep, so real that something inside me broke. "I have 2 children," she sobbed. "Who's going to take care of them when I die? Do you know what it is to watch your own body rot and not be able to explain to your children why? Do you know?" She fell to her knees, right there at my door, crying. And I simply closed the door, like a coward. But that image, those tears, that pain, they were burned into me forever. That night, something inside me snapped. I looked at the money I had saved, thousands of rands made from suffering. I looked at the clothes, the phone, everything I had bought, and I felt disgust with myself, with what I had become. I took all the money and burned it. Yes, I burned it all, because it was cursed money, and I wanted nothing to do with it anymore. I decided I would leave, but leaving the network wasn't simple. They didn't let collectors walk away. We knew too much. We could expose the operation. So I did the only thing I could. I ran. I grabbed a backpack, basic clothes, and disappeared in the middle of the night. Left everything behind, and for months I lived like a fugitive, always looking over my shoulder, always expecting them to find me. It was during that escape that I found salvation. Literally. I was sleeping under a bridge when an elderly woman found me. Her name was Mama Grace. She didn't judge me. She didn't interrogate me. She just said, "Son, God sent me here to find you. You're running, but you can't run from what you've done. You can only repent." She took me to her church, a small, humble congregation where the pastor didn't wear expensive suits or drive luxury cars, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. It wasn't instant. It took months of prayer, fasting, spiritual counseling. The pastor explained that I needed to do 3 things: confess everything to God, renounce all the spiritual covenants I had made, and when possible, warn others about the dangers. The confession was the hardest part, telling everything, every sordid detail, every item I collected, every rand I earned. I cried for hours, but the pastor didn't reject me. He only said, "Son, the blood of Jesus is greater than any blood you've touched. But you need to understand your restoration will be a long process, and you have a debt to the women who suffer. You need to expose this network, warn others. That is part of your redemption, and that's why I'm here today, making this confession, because I know it could cost me. The network still exists, it still operates, but I can't carry this secret to the grave. Women are suffering right now. Desperate young people are being recruited right now. And if my story can save one person, one single life, then the risk is worth it. Family, what you've just heard is heavy. It's disturbing, but it's necessary, because spiritual ignorance is costing lives, marriages, health, destinies. And today, through this confession, we are exposing the darkness. First warning, women, protect what you discard. Never, ever throw used pads in public bins. Burn them at home or bury them. Tissues with blood, same thing. Old panties, don't donate, burn them. Hair that falls out in the comb, gather it and burn or bury it. Does it sound like paranoia? It's not. It's spiritual protection our ancestors practiced and the modern world has forgotten. Second warning, men and women, if someone offers you easy money, quick wealth, a simple job that pays very well, ask yourself, what's the price? Because nothing comes for free. The devil always charges. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but the bill will come. And it will come with interest in the form of suffering, sickness, death, and spiritual torment. Third warning, if you are suffering inexplicably, illnesses doctors can't diagnose, constant bad luck, a marriage falling apart without reason, infertility with no medical cause, consider the possibility of spiritual attack. Look for true people of God, not false prophets who will exploit you even more. Pray, fast, seek deliverance. And review your life. Where might you have opened doors? What have you discarded carelessly? And finally, to the young people being recruited right now who are as desperate as I was, I know hunger hurts. I know loneliness cuts deep. I know you want a way to survive, but don't sell your soul, don't become an instrument of destruction, because dark money doesn't buy peace. It only buys torment. Look for help in true churches, NGOs, social programs. Steal food if you have to. It's a smaller sin than selling yourself to the devil. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. Thank you for not judging. Thank you for caring enough to learn. This story was not easy to tell, and I know it wasn't easy to hear, but it was necessary. Now I need you share this video. Send it to your WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, Telegram groups. Share it with your mothers, sisters, wives, daughters. Share it with young people who might be getting recruited, because every person who watches may be a life saved. Every share is a barrier raised against evil, and if you also have a story, if you've suffered something unexplainable, if you know these networks, if you were a victim of rituals, if you're trapped and want out, get in touch with us. Our WhatsApp is in the description. We protect your identity. We don't judge. We just listen and try to help. Your stories matter. Your pain matters. Your testimony can save others. Don't suffer in silence. Don't carry it alone. Share, confess, expose the darkness, because light always wins. Always. May God protect each one of you. May He cover your families. May He guard what you discard. And may He give you wisdom to recognize invisible dangers. In Jesus' name, amen. Until the next confession, stay in peace and stay alert.